wanted to do a quick video all about Geneva, Switzerland, and whether or not this famous city in Switzerland is worth visiting. Because to be honest, when I was planning my trip, I did get a lot of feedback about how Geneva was sort of boring and how there wasn't much to do. And I just wanted to dive into that a little bit deeper, especially if you're on the fence about whether or not you want to visit Geneva on a trip to Switzerland or even over to France. So let's talk about it. So as you can see, I look very, very, very happy to be on a trip to Geneva. I personally loved it, but I'm also a big fan of shopping, even if my credit card can't afford it at the time. So obviously I would love Geneva because of the shopping opportunities. There were a lot of really cool boutiques, and I did buy some really cool pants, a really nice sweatshirt. But to be honest, if shopping is not a big priority to you, or if you want to be on more of a budget for your travels, then I would consider spending more time outside of Geneva because it is a very expensive city. And that is the elephant in the room. Be careful. Don't break your budget on Geneva. Hotels are expensive, food is expensive, but truly that's like anywhere else in Switzerland. It's not a cheap visit, and you need to be realistic about your budget when you're here. However, even though Switzerland in general is an expensive place, and especially Geneva, don't discount Geneva entirely. There's still a lot to see and do, especially if you have a free afternoon to spare. And it is one of the easier places to fly to in Switzerland. For example, I live in the New York metro area, and there are direct flights right to Geneva. So that is well worth it because then you don't have to connect all over the continent in order to get to Switzerland, which I personally like. Furthermore, when you fly into Geneva's airport, it's very easy to get right to the old town. It's just like a 15-minute train ride. And if you're actually staying in the city of Geneva itself, you'll also have free public transportation that's available through your hotel. And being able to take the tram everywhere was really useful, and having that free public transportation did cut down on the cost. So that is certainly something to consider as well. Furthermore, as a fun side note, the public transportation also includes water taxis. So if you visit Geneva in the summer, which I highly recommend you do because the weather is by far the best that time of year, it's well worth going just for the water taxis because riding on Lake Geneva is absolutely beautiful. And the fact that you can do that for free in an otherwise expensive country is pretty worth it and pretty cool. So that's just something to keep in mind. Another reason I would say Geneva is worth visiting, even though it's expensive, is that it's a fairly safe city. I know on this channel I talk a lot about solo travel, in particular solo female travel, and sometimes just knowing that the city that you're going to is safe and clean and easy to navigate is well worth its weight in gold. So if you're kind of on the fence about visiting Geneva, if you're looking for a city that is safe and well maintained, like you could do a lot worse. So that's just something to consider when planning your trip as well. Furthermore, if you do have the money, Geneva is an excellent place to stay for day trips as well. Lake Geneva has so many really cool little cities and towns along the shores, and you can also easily dip into France too, so you can have two countries for the price of one, so to speak. So again, if money isn't really an issue, Geneva is awesome for day tripping, especially because you know that the train from Geneva is guaranteed to go everywhere, and there are plenty of boats that leave from Geneva as well to other towns, so just something else to keep in mind. Ultimately, Geneva is the type of city that depends on you as a traveler, so it is really low key, and there are some really cool history sites to go to, especially in the Old Town, as well as some really cute museums. But at the end of the day, it doesn't have the same energy as Paris or Berlin, so you really need to know what you're getting yourself into in advance. So ultimately, if you're the type of traveler who's looking for something a bit more low key and relaxed, especially if you just got off of a long international flight, then spending a day in Geneva could very well be worth your time and energy. But on the flip side, if you're the type of traveler who's expecting a huge city and a ton of energy, then maybe Geneva isn't necessarily the place for you. So, as always, do your research ahead of time. You know yourself far better than anyone else, and just go with your gut. So, I hope that helps you decide whether or not Geneva is worth visiting. As always, feel free to subscribe to this channel for more tips about travel around Europe, around Japan, North America, and also check out some of my socials too if you want to stay in touch. So I'll see you all in the next one. Happy travels and stay safe out there.